Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Baumgardner, Cook, Corum, Court, Crowder, Donovan, Finberg, Fields, Garcia, Gardner,
Excused.
Gardner, Guzman, Hill, Holbert, John, Jones, Kagan, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lumberg, Marble, Martinez-Huminick, Merrifield, Moreno, Neville, Priola, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Tate, Todd, Williams, Zenzinger. Mr. President.
Here. 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Court, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Members, colleagues, those are the same thing, right? And guests, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the journal. Senator Zenzinger.
I move that the reading of the Journal of March 29th be dispensed with and that the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion is adopted. And committee reports? Committee reports.
March 29, 2018, Committee on Finance, after consideration of Mayor's Committee remarks following, Senate Bill 210 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. March 29, 2018, Committee on Finance, after consideration of Mayor's Committee remarks following, Senate Bill 199 be postponed indefinitely. March 29, 2018, the Committee on Health and Human Services had in consideration had a hearing on the following appointments and appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado Traumatic Brain Injury Trust Fund Board, effective June 30, 2017, for terms expiring June 30, 2020. Delaware Danny Jal Mystery, MD, MS, ATC of Grand Junction, Colorado, reappointed. Ray Don Comstock, BSMS, PhD of Lakewood, Colorado, appointed. March 29, 2018, the Committee on Health and Human Services had in consideration had a hearing on the following appointments and appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado Commission on the Aging for term expiring July 1st, 2018. Sean C. Woods, CFP, AIFCAP of Evergreen, Colorado, to serve as Republican from Congressional District 2, on occasion by the death of Jeffrey David Moulton of Boulder, Colorado, appointed. March 29, 2018, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of Mayor's Committee remarks following, House Bill 1104, be referred to Committee of the Whole, the favorable recommendation. March 29, 2018, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of Mayor's Committee remarks following, House Bill 1211 be referred to Committee of the Whole, the favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. March 29, 2018, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of Mayor's Committee remarks following, Senate Bill 214 be postponed indefinitely. March 29, 2018, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee remarks following, House Bill 1282 be amended as follows: estimated referred to Committee of the Whole, the favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. March 29, 2018, the Committee on Education has had in consideration had a hearing on the following appointments placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado Educational and Cultural Facilities Authority Board of Directors for term expiring June 30th, 2021. William Thomas Pound of Castle Pines, Colorado, Democrat, reappointed. Dan J. Wilson of Broomfield, Colorado, Republican, reappointed. March 29, 2018, the Committee on Education has had in consideration had a hearing on the following appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado School of Mines Board of Trustees for terms expiring December 31st, 2021. Lucinda McWilliams Sanders of Boulder, Colorado, Democrat, who is not a graduate of the Colorado School of Mines, appointed. Thomas Eugene Jordan of Cherry Hills Village, Colorado, an affiliated graduate of the Colorado School of Mines, reappointed. March 29, 2018, Committee on Education after consideration of Mayor's Committee remarks following, Senate Bill 133 be postponed indefinitely. March 29, 2018, Committee on Education after consideration of Mayor's Committee remarks following, Senate Bill 206 be referred to Committee of the Whole, the favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. March 29, 2018, Committee on Education, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee as follows, Senate Bill 213, be referred to the Committee to hold a favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar.
Senate Services.
Correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bill 52, 123, 185, 192, and 197, correctly re-revised. House Bill 1018, 1098, 1134, 1148, 1199, 1242, 1246, and 1254, correctly enrolled. Senate Bill 170.
Message from the House.
The House has passed in third reading, transmitted to revised statutes. House Bill 1323, 1324, 1326, 1327, 1329, 1330, 1334, 1336. The House has passed in third reading and transmitted to revised statutes. House Bill 1089, 1322, 1340, 1325, 1328, 1331, 1332, 1333, 1337, 1338, 1339. Minutes is printed in the House Journal, March 28, 2018. The House has passed in third reading and returns herewith. Senate Bill 170.
Message from the reviser.
We herewith transmit without comment House Bill 1323, 1324, 1326, 1327, 1329, 1330, 1334, 1336. Without comment as amended House Bill 1089, 1322, 1325, 1328, 1331, 1332, 1333, 1337, 1338, 1339, and 1340.
Introduction of bills.
House Bill 1322 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert, concerning the provision for payment of the expenses of the executive, legislative, and judicial departments of the state of Colorado and of its agencies and institutions for and during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018, except as otherwise noted.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1323 by Representative Rankin and Senator Moreno, concerning transfers of money to a newly created Office of State Planning, Budgeting, Youth Pay for Success Initiatives account within the Pay for Success Contracts Fund and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1324 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lundberg, concerning the continuation of the Governor's Commission on Community Service and in connection with making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1325 by Representative Hamner and Rankin and Senator Lambert, concerning measures to address coverage gaps in the statewide digital trunked radio system and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1326 by Representative Young and Senator Lambert, concerning support for persons interested in transitioning from an institutional setting and in connection therewith, making and reducing appropriations.
Phantom, then I need to know that. Appropriations.
House Bill 1327 by Representative Young and Senator Moreno, concerning the all-payer health claims database and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1328 by Representative Young and Senators Lambert and Moreno, concerning the Children's Habilitation Residential Waiver Program and in connection therewith, making and reducing an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1329 by Representative Rankin and Senator Moreno, concerning a supplemental state payment to qualified providers of durable medical equipment who experienced a decrease in reimbursement in 2017-18 state fiscal year as a result of the implementation of the Federal 21st Century Cures Act and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1330 by Representative Young and Senator Moreno, concerning a supplemental state payment relating to certain office-administered oncology-related drugs for qualified providers under the Medical Assistance Program who experienced a reduction in reimbursement payments in 2017-18 state fiscal year as a result of the implementation of the federal final rules for covered outpatient drugs and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
State veteran, no. Appropriations.
House Bill 1331 by Representative Young and Rankin and Senator Lundberg, concerning expanding the use of open educational resources at public institutions of higher education in connection therewith, creating the Colorado Open Educational Resource Council, creating a grant program to support the creation and use of open educational resources, and making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1332 by Representatives Hamner and Rankin and Senator Moreno, concerning creation of a grant program to support collaborative educator preparation initiatives to address the teacher shortage in Colorado in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Maybe appropriations.
House Bill 1333 by Representative Young and Senator Lambert, concerning Part C, child find responsibilities of state departments in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1334 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert, concerning an extension of the Transitional Jobs Program and in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1336 by Representative Young and Senator Lambert, concerning the repeal of the Local Government Retail Marijuana Impact Grant Program.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1337 by Representatives Hamner and Rankin and Senator Lambert, concerning a Veterans One-Stop Center in Grand Junction in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1338 by Representative Rankin and Senator Lambert concerning transfers to address the reduction of revenues in the Severance Tax Operation Fund.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1339 by Representative Rankin and Senator Lambert concerning a requirement for fingerprint-based criminal history records checks for individuals with access to federal tax information in connection with making an appropriation.
Appropriations.
House Bill 1340 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning transfers of money to be used for the state's infrastructure.
I think I'll mix it up a little bit and say appropriations. Nope. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we resolve ourselves into the committee of the whole for the purpose
Hold
of...
on a second there, Mr. Soon-to-be Chair. I wanted to get the minority leader in real quick. Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to take I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, it's a rare day that my wife joins me on the Senate floor. She's over here visiting, so I want to take that opportunity to welcome her to the Senate floor. Michelle, welcome.
With apologies, Senator Smallwood, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for the purpose of general orders, second reading of bills consent calendar.
Motion for the body is for the Senate to resolve itself in committee of the whole for consideration of the general order, second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself in the committee of the whole for consideration of the general order, second reading of bills consent calendar. Senator Smallwood will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. The Court Rule is relaxed. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There has been a request by the bill sponsor to remove House Bill 1042 from the consent calendar. House Bill 1042 will then be placed on the second reading of bills calendar. I move that it be listed second to follow Senate Bill 43 on the second reading of bills calendar.
Is that last part an actual motion? Request to move it on. But to place it somewhere in the calendar?
So,
Where to put it?
Second after 43. That's 1042? Yes.
motion for the body is to move House Bill 1042 off of the consent calendar and onto the general order, second reading of bills to follow Senate Bill 43. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1042 will be moved on the general order, second reading of bills calendar. Majority Leader, will the clerk please read the title to all of the bills on the second reading of bills consent calendar?
House Bill 1049 by Representative Thurlow and Senator Scott concerning the Department of Human Services Authority to continue to lease portions of the Grand Junction Regional Center campus to third-party behavioral health providers. House Bill 1198 by Representative Sane and Craptharp and Senators Donovan and Smallwood concerning the establishment of best practices for state boards and commissions.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the two remaining bills on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar, House Bill 1049 and House Bill 1198, along with the committee report from State Veterans and Military Affairs.
Is there any discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of the committee report of the State Veterans and Military Affairs. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The report is adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of all the bills on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion for the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We shall rise and report.
Senate will come back to order. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committees met, had 2 bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee whole lead reports out in consideration of the tax bills being second reading thereof makes following recommendations around House Bill 1049. House Bill 1198 is amended past second read order. Rise and place the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1042 removed from the general order. Second reading of bills consent calendar. Placed at the end of the general order. Second reading of bills calendar for 4/2/18.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Motion for the body is the adoption of the report to the committee of the whole. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. House Bill 1049, House Bill 1198 is amended, passed on the second reading, order revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1042 removed from the general order, second reading of bills consent calendar, and placed at the end of the general orders. House Bill 1042 removed from the general order, second reading of bills consent calendar, and placed after Senate Bill 43 on the second reading of bills calendar. General order, second reading of bills. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
The motion before the body is for the Senate to resolve itself in the committee of the whole for consideration of the general order, second reading of bills calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself in the committee of the whole for consideration of the general order, second reading of bills calendar. Senator Smallwood will take the chair.
Committee will again come to order. The court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to, Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over Senate Bill 43 to follow Senate Bill 207 on the second reading calendar. Again, 43 to follow 207.
Motion for the body is to move Senate Bill, to lay over Senate Bill 43 to follow Senate Bill 207 on the general order, second reading of bills calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 43 will lay over. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1042?
House Bill 1042 by Representatives Becker J. and Janal and Senators Scott and Zinzinger concerning the creation of a program to authorize private providers to register commercial vehicles as Class A personal property in connection with making an appropriation and reducing an appropriation.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We move House Bill 1042.
Is there any discussion? There is an amendment on the desk. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We move House Bill 1042, Amendment 2.
Will the clerk please read Amendment 2?
Amendment J002 to House Bill 1042 by Senator Scott to amend re-engross Bill, page 5, strike lines 4 and 5, and substitute to implement this act in general fund appropriation made in the act, page 5, line 10, strike licensing, page 5, strike line 11, to substitute general fund named as.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a technical amendment that was brought to us by the Appropriations Committee. There was an issue with the appropriations clause. In the bill, we were appropriating the money from the Licensing Services Cash Fund, but that is actually incorrect. It needs to be coming from the general fund, and that's what this particular amendment does, and we ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment 2? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Amendment 2. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment 2 is adopted. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a TLRC bill that came through our committee over the interim. It would allow a private third-party vendor to register interstate motor vehicles for Class A vehicles in Colorado. We ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Scott.
Ditto.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1042? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1042. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1042 passes. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1154?
House Bill 1154 by Representatives Hooten and Van Winkle and Senator John concerning consumer protections relating to solicitation to provide a copy of a public record for a fee.
Senator John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1154. And there's no committee report.
Great. To the
There is
bill,
no
Senator
committee
John.
report. Thank you. This is actually a really simple bill that came to us by the county clerks, and I have heard from many of the county clerks throughout the state that what we're doing is we're simply including a new addition to the Colorado Consumer Protection Act to safeguard the citizens. The county clerk and recorders and district attorneys have been receiving many questions and complaints, mostly by senior citizens, that they're receiving deceptive mailings regarding their deeds. Now, no one says that a company can't exist. We're just saying that you cannot charge 400% more than what you can already get this for from your own county clerk. You don't need to go through a third-party company. And you can receive this for 25 cents to $1.50 usually. And these companies are charging 89, sometimes more. So we're just saying, you know what? You need to be legitimate up there. You need to let people know that they really don't have to go through this to get a copy of their deed. And again, it's really protecting the senior citizens who are the ones that are getting hit the hardest with this. And with that, I ask for an aye vote on 1154.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1154? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, many of you may not know how this works. I've received this mailer. My parents, my elderly parents, have received this mailer that says, you need to do this and send a check for $85 or send a check for $125. Now, I knew it didn't make sense because I understand that process. My fear is there are a lot of older people that don't know that. And I'm not usually a protectionist, but this is unreasonable. So let's just be transparent. That's why I support this bill and ask for your yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1154? We'll be in a senatorial 5. Committee will come back to order. We are Seeing if there's any further discussion on House Bill 1154. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1154. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1154 passes. The clerk, please read the title of House Bill 1293.
House Bill 1293 by Representatives Duran and Neville and Senator Grantham and Guzman concerning payment of expenses of the Legislative Department.
President Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We move House Bill 1293.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This, folks, appropriate for budget week. This is actually the separate bill apart from the long bill that is the legislative branch budget. It funds many of the things that we quite often take for granted, including our legislative aides, and many other things. It also includes, in the past, it's included some of the things that has funded this room and the restoration and the House chambers. It's also going to be including the upcoming restoration of the old Supreme Court chambers, amongst many other things, and we would ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1293? There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read the title to Amendment 4?
Amendment L004 to House Bill 1293 by
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L004.
To the amendment, Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. L004 expands the opportunity that our aides, chiefs of staff, and other employees here have to actually get paid a living wage. And we all know folks who work here in this building and come down. We have a citizens legislature, and so we know we come down for 4 months out of the year. And that was our decision. That's the way the legislature operates. We have a lot of top-notch employees who come down, work for 4 months out of the year, and then have to find other employment for the other 8 months. And it can be a real financial hardship to them. This has been an idea that's been floating around about actually allowing us to have staff for the entire year. I think it is a discussion that we should at least have, and I understand that the Executive Council has been working hard to move us in this direction, and I believe that House Bill 1293 is an excellent step. Just wondering if we can't move the discussion a little bit faster as well. So with that, I ask for the adoption of L004.
Assistant Minority Leader Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I see this sort of as a friendly amendment. I have no problem with the amendment. But the Executive Committee has spent a lot of time deliberating some of the same concerns that the Senator was talking about. That is the worth of our aides, how important they are, and how important it is for us to treat them fairly as, in a sense, employees that they are. I believe that by our extending the hours and raising the pay, and also raising the amount of dollars that is going to go to them should this pass for travel and that kind of thing, that is a good decision for this time, and would hope that in the future days that we could move forward and think about supporting a bill that would include the amendment that the Senator has. I will still be a no on the amendment, but I do think it speaks hugely to the same thoughts that we've had in the Executive Committee, that is to treat our aides as important employees as they are.
President Grantham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would second those sentiments from my co-sponsor and the Assistant Minority Leader. We did talk about this quite a bit in the Executive Committee, about what we do with legislative aid hours, and we did increase them and we did increase the overall hourly wage for them to keep up with the times. There may be a time, sometime in the future, where we end up with full-time staff like that. Maybe in the near future, it may be a little bit farther down the road. And it's discussions that happen every year, and we're increasingly getting closer to that. But this is not that year. I would ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment 4? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Amendment 4. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The noes have it. Amendment 4 fails. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1293? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1293. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1293 passes. The clerk please read the title to House Bill 1008.
House Bill 1008 by Representatives S. Garner Arndt and Senators Donovan and Quorum. Concerning the financing of the Division of Parks and Wildlife's Aquatic Nuisance Species Program and in connection therewith, creating an aquatic nuisance species stamp for the operation of motorboats and sailboats in the waters of the state, increasing penalties related to the introduction of aquatic nuisance species into the waters of the state, and combining two separate funds related to the Aquatic Nuisance Species Program into one fund.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1008 and the committee report from Finance.
To the Finance Committee report, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Finance added some language that clarified how the program that was the recipient of the stamp program would operate.
Is there any further discussion on the Finance Committee report? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Finance Committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment I would like to move, L005.
Feel free to move that amendment. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L005?
Amendment L005 to House Bill 1008 by Senator Sonnenberg, amendment and gross bill, page 11, after line 6.
Senator Quorum. Will the clerk please continue reading Amendment 5?
Amendment and gross bill, page 11, after line 6, insert section 9, in Colorado Revised Statute, add 3310.5109 as follows. 3310.5109. Trans Mountain Diversion Pilot Program, Aquatic Nuisance Species Reporting. 1, to contain, control, and monitor aquatic nuisance species in the state, and to eradicate aquatic nuisance species from the waters of the western half of the state, and divisions shall be established as Trans Mountain Diversion Pilot Program for each Trans Mountain diversion in which water is transferred from the western slope of the Front Range of the Eastern Plains. The division shall...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ran this amendment. I think it's very important because, you know, in western Colorado, we are adamant that we keep the zebra mussel out of western Colorado. But I think there's a possibility that some of the Front Range people want them because, I mean, they could be used so many things. And so what this amendment does, it asks that we basically put an injection system in at the outlet of all the Trans Mountain diversions, and we inject the zebra mussel into the water system here, and you will be able to use it for water storage, decorative decals on seaplanes, and gray water treatment works. I think it's just a marvelous amendment, and more important, it has a safety clause, and I think that's the important side of it.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move L005. The other important aspect of this amendment, and I appreciate my colleague drafting and being so considerate about this, is that there will be a report, that daily report on the progress of Trans Mountain diversions and mussel populations in the state, and the distinguished President Pro Tem will receive those daily reports.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment 5? Senator Sonnenberg.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no idea how my name got on the top of this amendment because you know I would never amend to put the safety clause on. With that said, this actually has, and maybe we could utilize some of the 10% state art funds to utilize for these decorative decals and those type of things. So But until I get those details worked out, I would ask for a no vote.
Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I withdraw L005.
To the bill, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, we bring to you this bill, and I would just like to point your attention to this visual aid that we have decorated the podium with. This is what infestation of this aquatic nuisance species can look like when they get into our waterways in Colorado. We are lucky thus far that we are still considered a mussel-free state. But let's be cautious about what that title means, because just last summer, due to funding constraints, we decreased the inspection and enforcement program at boat ramps throughout the state. That also coincided with the first summer that mussel larva was found in one of our reservoirs that's at the headwaters of the Colorado. It possibly couldn't have been in a worse body of water to find larvae, because it's a body of water that supplies water for the western slope and also is the reservoir for the eastern slope. So finding mussel larvae in this body of water was really an alarming discovery. This bill seeks to have consistent funding for the Aquatic Nuisance Species Program, because once we get mussels, we will not go backwards. Once this invasive species gets into our waterways, and if we didn't clarify, this used to be a pipe.
16 months.
16 months, resulting in what could hardly transfer water anymore. You cannot remove these easily. It has to be high pressure water or mechanical removal. In some of our lower basin states that have mussels, in dam situations, they're just doing full replacements of motor systems and equipment because they can't manually remove these anymore. So this is what we are looking at. Also, the day that we presented this bill, and I'll end with this story, the day that we presented this bill in committee, we were sent a photo of a boat that was trying to enter a body of water in Colorado from Lake Powell. So this is very real. This is, and if you can't appreciate that picture from afar, I would encourage you to come see it up close and look what these little rascals can do once they get in our system. So ask for your support on House Bill 1008.
Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, this is very expensive once they do get into the system. And just doing some research, the Metropolitan District of Southern California spends $10 to $15 million each and every year just trying to battle this infestation. So with that, I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And on a more serious note, absolutely, this is an issue. We have to keep our waterways clear. But we have to look at the source here and what we're trying to accomplish. This is a huge statewide issue that actually should be paid out of severance tax dollars. So we have created a problem by taking severance tax dollars to balance the budget. So now we short the funding of these type of programs. The truth is we need to solve the problem, and instead of taxing voters $25, we actually need to pay for this out of the severance tax dollars. Now, when we put this forward through the Interim Water Committee, through the Water Resources Review Committee, at that point we didn't know what the budget was going to look like, what the forecast looked like. With a $1.3 billion surplus, now's the time for the general fund to make the severance tax dollars whole so we can actually fund these Tier 2 projects. Now, I had an amendment to do just that, and we would not charge for the stamp if the severance taxes were funded. It appears that that does not have enough support, so I'm not going to offer it. I will just be a quiet no on the bill and hope that we can rectify the severance tax issue during the long bill discussion. So I will be a no, but thank you for your work.
Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. And I totally agree that, we have robbed $300 million from the severance tax fund to put in the general fund. And, I understand that when we did it during good times, but we also did it when we were doing well. And it just seemed like a slush fund that was out there. And I agree with the good senator from Sterling that we need to do this, but my concern would be maybe next year we don't have that budget surplus, and I would like to see some designated funding for this so each and every year we know we have this program funded. Thank you.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The senator raises a good point about our funding and how we constantly look to severance tax to fill other gaps in our budget, and the programs that suffer are often Tier 2. And this year we even see Tier 1 programs being at the hands of us seeing severance tax not always being used what it was intended for, but being swept or allocated to other problems. The reason this bill is so important, right, is because we need consistency in this program. It has to exist year to year. You cannot go backwards. So as we all acknowledge the inconsistency and the reliability of severance tax funding, we must acknowledge that a bill like this is necessary so that we have reliable funding to plan for year to year and have a long-term program to address aquatic nuisance species. So yes, we may not ideally want to approach the problem this way, as my colleague has signaled, but until we solve the problem of severance tax being an unreliable known source of funds from year to year, we have to look at how we can consistently fund these programs. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I heard this bill in committee, and I am in complete support and would urge you to support House Bill 10008. And the reason is because we are very proud of the incredible rivers that we have here in the state of Colorado. And we just don't need this kind of contamination on our boats that might interfere with our rivers. So I urge a yes vote on this in so many ways. We had testimony from the Aurora Water Department and many other water departments, and they are in full support of this House Bill 10008. Because as you've heard, once this mussel is in contact with us, if it's not contaminated, then it is going to have a huge threat to our rivers that we enjoy. So please vote yes on House Bill 10008.
Senator Crowder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support the concept of mussels because we've been inspecting boats for a lot of years in rural Colorado, but I don't think that placing a $25 additional fee on boating is the way to go. So I'll be a no on this bill, but I think what we need to do is find a different source of funding for this instead of the boaters, because in reality it affects the entire state. The entire state should be the ones to actually fund this program. Thank you.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move Amendment 007.
There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read the title to Amendment 7?
Amendment L007 to House Bill 1008 by Senator Jones, amend Green-Gross Bill, page 5, line 11, strike portion and substitute portion in 1, page 5 after line 13, insert 1, aquatic nuisance species means exotic or non-native aquatic wildlife, house members, or any plant species that have been determined by the Commission to pose a significant threat to the aquatic resources or water infrastructure of the state.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, members, I was looking at the definition of aquatic nuisance species, and it was missing one type of species. And you will notice it's not a non-native aquatic wildlife, nor is it a plant species. House members are neither wildlife or plant species. I guess they're mineral. I don't know. But when I heard mussel-free, I thought of the House members. And so I thought I'd run this amendment just to be clear that we need to manage that chamber.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in support of this amendment. However, I think we need to have a conceptual amendment to add the words Senator Fenberg right after House members.
Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually like this amendment, other than the fact aquatic, because in my life I've encountered a lot of nuisances that are not aquatic. So, but I will bite the bullet and accept that amendment.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, they're actually terrestrial in most cases unless they're at the beach. So I had to keep it within the bill, so I just put House members that are aquatic in their aquatic nature, but I withdraw 007.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After that riveting debate on weighty issues, colleagues, I was a no vote on this in committee. The good senator from Alamosa explained that this is a $25 added, we can call it whatever it is, a fee, but really it's a tax on all boaters in Colorado. And one of the things I find that's egregious about this is we have out-of-state boaters that come in and use our facilities, and we don't charge them $25. We actually charge them $50. And when you start taking a look at that, we have, if any of you are boaters, I'm sure that you understand, especially water skiers and fishermen and everything else, the relationship with the states around us, whether it be going up to Wyoming to, either Lake McConaughey or Glendo or Guernsey or those areas. And people from Wyoming coming down here and trying to make sure that we have good neighbors. The idea of actually hitting people from out of state with a higher fee simply because they have an out-of-state license plate on their boat. They may be coming into our facilities to use them one time. They go through the same inspections and they're liable for the same costs if they find that there is an infestation on their vehicles. I don't find that very neighborly by Colorado. And so we have a major input from the boaters as far as an increase of $25. And then also we take our neighbors and we say, howdy neighbor, we're going to double it up for you because you're not from Colorado. You're not from around here. So we're going to hit you with twice the fee. So I just don't think that's a positive. So I would urge a no vote.
Senator Fenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just would like to correct the record to the senator from Jefferson County over there. No need for that conceptual amendment. I've been a mussel-free senator for some time now. There's no concern. I will not.
Yes.
Senator Martinez-Humenick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, this is a huge problem, especially for any of our communities that have water utilities. It's very expensive to combat. And as I sat on the Canadian-American Policy Committee for CSG West, the Canadians are charging really high fees for boats coming into their country because they are trying to get this problem nipped in the bud. So this is a huge problem, and they are charging from the United States large fees to be able to come in, and they have to mitigate before they're allowed to go into Canada. So I think we need to be very, very cautious about our lakes as well as our streams here in Colorado.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, just to put this into context, I wanted to bring your attention to a bill we're going to be hearing over the next couple of days. It's a JBC transfer bill, 1338, and it has to do with revenues in the severance tax operational fund. On the part of that bill does deal with aquatic nuisance species. We're transferring $2.4 million to the Division of Parks and Outdoor Recreation Aquatic Nuisance Species Fund, and also $1.2 million to the Division of Wildlife
Aquatic Nuisance Species Fund. So just realize that part of this is in one of the orbital bills for the state budget.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm seeing some raised eyebrows from my colleagues with that issue. That's to fill in a gap year. Just so you guys are aware of what that JBC bill tries to address is the funding to keep this program going before we get the STAMP program in place. And with that, I ask for your aye vote on L008. Thank you.
Senator Donovan. Senator Donovan is on House Bill. Thank you, Senator. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I can shed a little more light on that. Essentially, the way it's working is the bill from the JBC through those funds is paying for half of it. And the other half is through the boaters' fees, $25 in-state, $50 out-of-state. My argument is we should bump that up and actually make it a statewide concern and pay for all of it out of there, the other $2 million, rather than tax the boaters. But that's the situation. I understand it's a problem that needs addressed. I'm just afraid that when severance tax dollars come back, this nice fee will never go away.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1008? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1008. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1008 passes. The clerk, please read the title of House Bill 1017.
House Bill 1017 by Representative Michelson Janae and Senators Gardner and Finberg concerning the adoption of an interstate compact to allow a person authorized to practice psychology in a compact state in which the person is not licensed and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Finberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1017.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1017? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1017. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1017 passes. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1029?
House Bill 1029 by Representative Weissman and Senator Lundberg concerning lowering the period of mandatory parole from 5 years to 3 years for certain felony offenses.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1029 and the Judiciary Committee report.
To the Judiciary Committee report, Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Judiciary Committee report, actually, just to put this in context, this is concerning lowering the mandatory parole for certain crimes from 5 years to 3 years. This is a bill that came out of the interim Committee on Sentencing Reform, and in Judiciary there were, let's see, it looks like about 3 pages of technical adjustments on referencing various areas of statute, nothing substantive in this committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the Judiciary Committee report? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of the Judiciary Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Judiciary Committee report is adopted. Senator Lundberg. Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I described very briefly, this bill is concerning lowering mandatory parole from 5 years to 3 years for Class 3 felony crimes committed on or after July 1st, 2018, and for Class 2 felony crimes that are not crimes of violence. And the rationale for this is that parole is really most effective in the first, actually 18 months. But by the time you hit the 3-year mark, you know whether the parolee is on the right track or not. And those final 2 years are really rather perfunctory, and the parole board had a representative there at the committee acknowledging that yes, indeed is the case, and that they could use their resources more efficiently if they were not required to continue the parole for these crimes beyond the 3-year point. It's a good bill that just helps us focus our resources in a better way and provide a little better target at what true justice should be.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1029? Senator Kagan.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd like to thank the bill sponsor for bringing this important bill forward. It is reflective of the current research, which is in very broad agreement that the fourth and fifth year of parole is not only ineffective, but in many cases counterproductive by engaging in what is called over-supervision, which causes people who would otherwise consider themselves back in society to actually react to the over-supervision. And that is part of a general effort that we've been making to make our sentencing regime reflective of current research. And I applaud the senator from Berthen for bringing this bill. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1029? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1029. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1029 passes. The clerk, please read the title of Senate Bill 207.
Senate Bill 207 by Senator Moreno and Representative Rankin concerning authority for the Department of Human Services to retain amounts from certain cash funds for its indirect costs.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Senate Bill 207. Colleagues, this is a joint budget committee bill. It just merely reflects the allocation method for recovering indirect costs from certain cash funds in the Department of Human Services. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 207? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 207. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 207 passes. We'll be in a senatorial 5. Committee will come back to order. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over the balance of second reading calendar until Tuesday, April 3rd.
Motion for the body is to lay over the balance of the general or second reading of bills calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The calendar shall lay over. We'll be in a senatorial 5. The committee will come back to order. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion for the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have. The committee will rise and report.
Hi, sorry for all of that. Yes. For this to go from the consent calendar to. But it is TLRC, so, you know. Somebody's kicking over your trash. Yes. And it's not even my bill, it's a TLRC bill, so. I'm just carrying my weight as a committee member to make it bipartisan.
Senate will come back to order. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee's met, had several bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee will hold lead reports that under consideration following tax bills being second reading thereof makes following recommendations are on Senate Bill 207 pass second read order and gross place calendar for the reading and final passage. House Bill 1042 is amended. House Bill 1154, House Bill 1293, House Bill 1008 is amended. House Bill 1017, House Bill 1029 is amended. Pass second read order and revised place the calendar for the reading and final passage. Senate Bill 43, Senate Bill 166 laid over until 4318. We're continuing to place the calendar.
Senator Smallwood.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the report.
There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Carpenter, please read amendment to report of the Committee of the Whole 1.
Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 to House Bill 1042.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, or excuse me, Mr. President. Members, this is a cow amendment on the TLRC bill. When we amended it to change the appropriation, immediately after that, we received word that that might not have been the way to do it. So what this cow does is it says that that amendment did not pass and that the bill was actually referred to the Appropriations Committee. We believe that the Appropriations Committee is going to have to sort this out because there's some different opinions about where the appropriations should come from, and my colleague would like to chat more about that.
Senator Zenzinger, could you move the amendment so we could talk more about it?
Yes, Mr. President, I move COW 001.
Thank you for moving the cow amendment. Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask for an aye vote on COW 001, the Zenzinger amendment. When we heard from the floor that we were changing funding sources to general fund, I kind of tapped the brakes here a little bit because typically, because of the President's memo from January 10th, there are certain thresholds that we have to work out in appropriations. But when we called our analysts about this, they were also raised the problem that even in the amendment that came on the floor, it still may not be the right funding source. So to save time and make sure we do this in a deliberate way, I would support this going back to appropriations, and we'll get all the staff members together and fix this the right way instead of having to come back and fix it later. So I'd ask for an aye vote on the COW.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 to Senate Bill 10 or House Bill 1042. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 is adopted. Senator Smallwood.
Mr. President, I renew my motion for the adoption of the report.
Motion for the body is the adoption of the report to the Committee of the Whole. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 207 passed on second reading, ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1154, House Bill 1293, House Bill 1008 as amended, House Bill 1017, House Bill 1029 as amended. Passed on second reading, ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 43, Senate Bill 166, laid over until 4/3/18 and retaining their place on the calendar. House Bill 1042 referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Consideration of Governor's Appointments Consent Calendar. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read all the appointments on the consent calendar?
Members of the Board of Assessment Appeals for a term expiring July 1st, 2018, Amy J. Williams, MAI, of Hayden, Colorado, member engaged in agriculture, reappointed for a term expiring July 1st, 2019. Sharice Chestnut of Thornton, Colorado, on occasion of the resignation of James R. Muir of Golden, Colorado, appointed. Members of the Financial Services Board for term expiring July 1st, 2021, Michael George Hurst of Del Norte, Colorado, an executive officer of State Savings and Loan Association with a Democrat, reappointed. Michael L. Williams of Highlands Ranch, Colorado, an executive officer of State Credit Union and Republican, appointed. H. Merritt Kinsey of Grand Junction, Colorado, to serve as a public member with expertise in finance and an unaffiliated, appointed.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the consideration of Governor's Appointments Consent Calendar consisting of members of the Board of Assessment Appeals and members of the Financial Services Board.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the adoption of all the governor's appointments listed on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the appointments are confirmed. The following persons have been appointed to the Board of Assessment Appeals: Amy J. Williams, Sharice Joshness. And the Financial Services Board: Michael George Hurst, Michael L. Williams, H. Merritt Kinsey. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. After conferring with the Minority Leader, I move that the Senate take up a special orders calendar consisting of the consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar listed on page 2 of your calendar for Tuesday, April 3rd. This consent calendar includes members of the Juvenile Parole Board. I move the Senate take up that special orders calendar at the hour of 11:27 a.m. today.
The motion is that the Senate take up the consideration of governor's appointments consent calendar listed on tomorrow's calendar, Tuesday, April 3rd, on special orders at the hour of 11:27 a.m. The motion requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. And the Senate will take up those appointments. Consideration of governor's appointments, consent calendar, special orders. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read those appointments?
Members of the Juvenile Parole Board for term expiring November 15, 2018, Rachel Victoria Levendahl, Westminster, Colorado, serves as a representative of the Colorado Department of Education, occasioned by the resignation of Barbara Hickman of Denver, Colorado, appointed for term expiring November 15, 2021. Heidi Jean Hess of Clifton, Colorado, to serve as a public member not employed by the state of Colorado, occasioned by the resignation of Chantel and Schoenboom of Centennial, Colorado, appointed.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the consideration of governor's appointment special orders consent calendar consisting of members of the Juvenile Parole Board.
Is there any discussion? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the appointments listed on the governor's appointments consent calendar special orders. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the appointments are confirmed. The following persons have been appointed to the Juvenile Parole Board: Rachel Victoria Levendahl and Heidi Jean Hess. Delivered to the governor.
To the governor for signature on Thursday, March 29, 2018 at 2:40 p.m. Senate Bill 299, 104, and 160.
Message from the governor.
March 29, 2018, Colorado Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to inform you that I've approved and will file with the Secretary of State the following acts: Senate Bill 90 concerning modernization of language and statutory sections concerning rights of married women, approved March 29, 2018 at 2:35 p.m. Senate Bill 125 concerning fiduciary responsibilities of title insurance entities to protect funds held in conjunction with real estate closing settlement services, approved March 29, 2018 at 2:39 p.m. Senate Bill 28 concerning the repeal of certain requirements for where a license plate is mounted on a motor vehicle, approved March 29, 2018 at 2:57 p.m. Senate Bill 73 concerning reporting the Department of Revenue when ownership of a motor vehicle has been transferred, approved March 29, 2018 at 2:56 p.m. Senate Bill 111 concerning the removal of an obsolete date in the law that designates state legal holidays, approved March 29, 2018 at 2:57 p.m. Senate Bill 121 concerning certain expenses allowed to a state employee when the employee is required to change his or her place of residence in connection with a change in job duties, approved March 29, 2018 at 2:55 p.m. Senate Bill 102 concerning the requirements for an odometer reading when a motor vehicle's identification number is physically verified, approved March 29, 2018 at 2:55. Sincerely, John W. Hickenlooper, Governor.
Message from the governor. Or is that? Message from the House.
The House has passed on third reading and transmitted revised statutes House Bill 1252, 1278, amended as printed in the House during March 29, 2018. The House passed on third reading and returns here with Senate Bill 176, 182, 87, 162. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted revised statutes Senate Bill 151, 79, amended as printed in the House Journal March 29, 2018. The House has adopted and returns here with Senate Joint Resolution 8.
Message from the reviser.
We herewith transmit without comment as amended Senate Bill 79 and 151, without comment House Bill 1252 and 1278.
Announcements. Senator Lundberg.
Real quick here. Thank you, Mr. President. Members, actually, Mr. President, and I hope the members hear this as well, I am announcing that there are a few extra bills that we're going to add to the Appropriations Committee tomorrow morning, and it comprises House Bills 1322, 1323, 1324, 1325, 1326, 1327, 1328, 1329, 1330, 1331, 1332, 1333, 1334, 1336, 1337, 1338, 1339, and 1340. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
One breath. Well done. Mr. Carpenter's job may be in jeopardy. Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today in the Senate Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology, we're meeting at 1:30 today. It's going to be in room 271, not 354. It's going to be room 271, and the bill order will be Senate Bill 211, followed by House Bill 1259, followed by Senate Bill 201 at the end. And there you have it. So Senate Bill 201 will be last. Thank you.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I neglected to mention that Senate Bill 167 will not be heard tomorrow.
Senator Martinez-Humenick.
Thank you.
And Senator John.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, so what we would like to do, members and colleagues, is everybody should have a pinwheel on your desk today. And just to let you know, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. So as part of the Colorado Abuse and Neglect Public Awareness Campaign, the Colorado Department of Human Services, along with hundreds of our community partners, are marking the start of National Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is the month of April. And there will be an event at the state capitol tomorrow at 9 a.m. However, we will be on the floor. So tomorrow, if you will wear blue for a child, this will officially launch the month-long effort to inspire Coloradoans to plant pinwheel gardens all over the state to bring awareness to the problem of child abuse. This effort will also include a photo contest in which participants are encouraged to plant and submit photos of their own pinwheel gardens. Winners will receive grants to be used to support the organizations striving to prevent child abuse and neglect. The Pinwheel Garden serves as an uplifting reminder of childhood and bright futures that all children deserve. In 2015, a multi-year Colorado Child Abuse and Neglect Public Awareness Campaign, Colorado for Kids, was enacted to engage all Coloradoans in the prevention of child abuse and promote the new Colorado Child Abuse and Neglect Hotline, which you may know as 1-844-Colorado for Kids. So if you would like more information about this campaign and the activity, please call 303-866-3309, or you can email info@coloradoforkids.org. Again, each one of us plays a very important role in helping to prevent child abuse and neglect, especially for those young children who cannot speak for themselves.
Senator John.
Thank you, Mr. President, and ditto all of my colleagues' remarks. You know, I have to tell you, when they first came out with the pinwheels, I guess I was like everyone else and kind of wondered, where did that come from? And you really didn't see that many around. Then as the campaign went on, you started seeing them in the neighborhoods in the month of April. And I started, realizing that it was for this very cause that we're celebrating now. So it is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we thank you for your support.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you, sir. I have a letter from a survivor that I wanted to meet, a survivor of sexual harassment. It says, the #MeToo movement has built a community of survivors from all walks of life, encouraging millions to speak out about their experiences of sexual violence and harassment. Without this viral campaign advanced through hashtags, social media platforms, and national news coverage, the reality and prevalence of sexual harassment would have continued on as it has for years, unearthed and unaddressed. Designed to drive change through collective national, local, and individual awareness, #MeToo has galvanized the public to provide accountability and transparency for those who choose to abuse others. #MeToo has worked to strengthen the prevention strategies of both private and public institutions alike and helped establish safer working conditions for everyone. Members of the media have played a critical role in illuminating this truth through well-written, fact-based stories that have created a vehicle for survivors to shine a light on the conditions that foster sexual harassment and violence. Journalists have been the greatest ally of change. Without them, the true extent of sexual harassment in the workplace would remain buried beneath a culture of silence and victim blaming. Crimes of sexual misconduct, including sexual harassment, are among the most underreported crimes in our society. I have not told my own story to the authorities, and I fear that the unfortunate result of this interpretation of the Senate's press policy will silence further those who have experienced workplace harassment and discrimination in our state capitol. We need our elected officials to actively work towards lifting the veil of secrecy that enables you, the Senate, to ignore behavior that is so harmful to survivors. When survivors make the brave choice to come forward about their experiences of sexual victimization, we cannot and should not limit our means of disclosure. We should celebrate their courage, not silence their voices. The silence at USA Gymnastics would never have come to light if not for the courageous decisions of dozens of victims to step forward and tell the world what happened. For this reason, the members of the Senate Democratic Caucus ask that the Senate resolution that we prepared and submitted for introduction on February 13th, 2018, entitled Concerning the Expulsion of the Senator from Northwestern Colorado for Sexual Harassment of a Legislative Employee, be promptly introduced and brought to the floor of the Senate for debate. Thank you for your attention, those of you who are still here.
Any further announcements? Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we will start budget week tomorrow, and I just wanted to review this quickly. Tomorrow we will be on the floor briefly. There will be an Appropriations Committee meeting early, before 9 a.m., and we may delay our start tomorrow morning if they run past 9 o'clock, but I would ask you please plan to be in the chamber by 9. We'll be on the floor briefly. We may do some second reading work, but not a lot. We will then recess for caucus meetings on the budget if each caucus desires to meet. You're certainly not required to. And then amendments to the long bill will be due by 4 p.m. tomorrow, Tuesday. 4 p.m. tomorrow. And thanks to the members of the JBC who have reminded me, if you want to run an amendment to the long bill, please see John Ziegler in JBC. If you want to run an amendment to an orbital bill, see Legislative Legal Services downstairs. So to the long bill, to the budget itself, please see Mr. Ziegler over in the JBC offices. And an orbital bill, please see Legislative Legal Services downstairs. The deadline for those amendments, again, 4 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. On Wednesday, we will be on the floor briefly again, and then we will break for caucus meetings, and we will review all of the amendments to the long bill. We will then return to the floor on Wednesday for second reading of the long bill and the orbital bills. Please plan to be on the floor through Wednesday evening. We have no idea what time, but we'll be going long on Wednesday. There will be no committee hearings other than potential meetings of JBC or appropriations. Thank you to the Chair of Appropriations who announced that meeting for tomorrow and the extra bills. But other committees of reference beyond today will not be meeting this week. Thursday, we'll be on the floor for third reading on the long bill if everything goes according to plan. Again, no committee hearings other than potential JBC or appropriations. And then Friday, we will return back to second reading work on Friday. So if you are out of town, please don't plan to leave too early on Friday. I believe also that might be opening day for the Rockies, and we will try to get out of here early, but we probably will have some work. Here's why. Today is the 83rd legislative day. There are 37 days remaining. Friday, when we get back to normal work after the budget, we will have 33 days remaining. As of next Monday, 30 days, but 8 of those are weekends, leaving us with 22 days. And I'm not sure about the other, the minority party here, but I know that the Republican Party plans to have multi-county assemblies on Lucky Friday the 13th. I'm not sure when the other party might be doing that, but we will have members out on April 13th, and that leaves us 21 working days starting next Wednesday. You might remember that over in the House, there are about twice the number of members, and therefore more bills. Last year, after the budget cleared the Senate, we had a wave of bills coming from the House, which meant long days for us to catch up with that wave of House bills coming over. We effectively have 1 week less this year to do that because the budget started over there and ends over here, so we're in the second week of budget week here. So we will have, as of next Monday, 21 working days to get through a considerable number of bills. It looks like our good senator from El Paso County, Vice Chair of JBC, might have an amendment, so an announcement. So before I make any motion, I will defer to him.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one technical detail. The Majority Leader mentioned check with John Ziegler, the Executive Director of the JBC. Actually, for the Democrat caucus, you probably want to talk to Mr. Kevin Neiman. We have kind of a buddy system, so the director is always with the majority party in either house. Mr. Neiman is always with the minority party, but he'll be your dedicated point of contact. Just a couple of notes on that. Typically, the JBC does not receive any amendments that come from staff. If you would like to run an amendment, and this is because in the past we've had people trying to slip in amendments and not really go through a primary member, but if you'd be so kind, if you'd like to run an amendment, I don't know why you'd want to because it's a perfect budget anyway, but if you would like to run an amendment, for the Democrat caucus, contact Mr. Neiman. He'll give you his cell phone number, his phone number, email address, everything in your caucuses tomorrow. Same thing for the majority party. Director Ziegler will give you that information, but we ask the primary members are the ones that will only accept amendment proposals from the primary members, not from the staff. Or in in Senator from Wheat Ridge, we will share the wealth, and you can contact anybody you like. So, okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will have floor work this evening. I move that the Senate recess until 4 p.m. today. Just as a reminder, we can't come back before 4, but we can come back after 4. We'll see when the afternoon committees wrap up. But again, we are going to recess until 4 p.m. Mr. President, I move the Senate recess until 4 p.m. today.
Motion is for the Senate to stand in recess till 4 p.m. today. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the Senate will stand in recess.